Well, hey there, Diet Disruptors. Carrie here, and welcome to another episode where we really try to always dig in, meet women where they are so that they truly understand more about their bodies, about their thinking, about how they can do something truly forever. Because that's what our bodies want. They don't want us dieting. They don't want us depriving ourselves. In fact, the more and more we do that, the more havoc we're putting on our bodies. And so today we are going to talk about something that I know happens to, I'm going to just say all of us. I'm going to say that all of us deal with what I am going to talk about today. And if we don't get to the heart of the matter with this, and we don't start to realize this as it happens, we will never be able to do anything for the long term. Now, when it comes to our nutrition and our bodies, we talk to hundreds and hundreds of women every single month. We love being able to have chats with women, talk to them about what's going on with them. We don't even work with most of these women. We really try to be different than anybody else out there and allow you to see that you have a team of people that know what they're doing, that have the solutions, and you can hop on a call with us to be able to chat with us about it. We won't even be able to invite you in to formally work with us if you're worried about I'm just going to be sold to. Because we only work with a few clients a month. We have purposely set ourselves up so that we can be there in our Diet Disruptor Squad, our Facebook group, on social media, and on the phone for people who need to get some answers to questions now. And then when they're ready, and we feel like it's a good match and fit, then we can talk about working together. But what we want first is for women, for men, for families, for kids to understand a different relationship with food in their bodies than the society and our culture has taught us. That's the first step. And so that is why Disruptive Nutrition exists, why we have our free Facebook group, why we have our YouTube channel. Everything is centered around education and helping people to undo the decades and decades of really truly disordered thinking that our culture has brought upon us. Now, being able to do something for the rest of our lives when it comes to our nutrition, to never diet again, is like mind-blowing. And women will always say to us, it feels too good to be true. It's not. But I will say to you this, you aren't ready to be able to do something forever. I know that sounds harsh. The sustainability of what we teach has been proven for decades and decades and decades, like thousands and thousands of people. Like, that's not the issue. It's the fact that we don't know how to stick with something around nutrition for a long time. We've never done it before. We are always trying and looking for new things. And if you're honest with yourself, how long have you been dieting? I'd love for you to put it in the comments as you're watching this or listening to this. We produce our podcast every single week. We put it on our website where our podcast lives, as well as you can stream it in Apple, in Spotify, and all the places that you can get your podcasts. Also, we put the video in YouTube, in our free Facebook group, Diet Disruptors, in our Facebook page, Disruptive Nutrition. So it's all of those different places. Pick a place that you go to regularly and commit to listening in once a week. It always comes out on a Monday, and we are committed to helping you think differently. Because if you say and put in the comments, wherever you're listening from, how long have you been dieting, been thinking about food, been wondering about food, been trying to figure this all out? I had a woman recently say to me that she dieted her way to diabetes and 300 pounds. And when people see the fact that 75% of people are at risk for diabetes. That's 3/4 of our population. That we know 9 out of 10 deaths have to do with a metabolic disease, all stemming from a dysregulated blood sugar. What's a metabolic disease? High blood pressure, obesity, high cholesterol, diabetes, dementia, Alzheimer's, cancer, strokes. All of it stems from a dysregulated blood sugar. And all we have been doing by putting ourselves at a deficit, by depriving ourselves of food, by trying to just eat healthy and not taking into consideration blood sugar stabilization, we are literally part of those statistics. The chances that you are part of that statistic is almost guaranteed if you don't know how to balance your blood sugar. Now, does that connect with losing weight? Of course. A healthy body will get to your healthy weight. We just keep trying to do it the other way around. If I just stop eating, I'll get smaller. That works to a certain point. A couple weeks ago, I did an episode on your set point. I want you to go back and listen to that. If you just think you should just eat less to lose weight, because that's the goal. Every single time you do that, you bring yourself to a new set point. So think about your set point like a thermometer in your house. Let's say you put your thermometer at like 75 degrees. Well, then that thermometer, once it hits 75 degrees, whether you're trying to heat it up to that or cool it down to that, will stop. Because you told it right there, this is where we want to land. Every time you do a diet, every time you deprive yourself, every time you aren't getting yourself regulated when it comes to your blood sugar, your set point keeps going higher and higher, which means your metabolism is getting slower and slower. So if you've gained weight and then lost it, by depriving yourself with a diet, you've only lost it to your set point, to that thermometer. And with every single diet, because your metabolism has to slow down because you're putting it in a deficit and nothing flourishes in a deficit, then your set point is going to keep rising. So if you keep saying, I keep losing and gaining the same amount of weight over and over again, you're just going to hit that plateau at a set point, and you're going to be really in a place of feeling really frustrated. And then you go and look for something else. And you're just on this cycle of recognizing that a diet worked before, so I'm going to keep doing it and I'm going to keep going to it, but I'm going to have to look for something else. We know that it's like and we think it's like this necessary evil. I'm just going to get on a diet and I'm going to just lose the weight and then I'll be able to live my life. It never works. It never, ever works. So we think we want to be able to do something sustainably forever. And I know you do. I know you don't want to be on that dieting roller coaster, but you've never done it before because the diet always fails you. And then you go look for a new one. So that's this learned behavior. And so when you start working and eating PFC3, when you start eating to balance your blood sugar, you'll want to do it forever. But because you've never done that before, anything forever, your body and your mind aren't going to know how to do that. And you will self-sabotage. That's what we're going to talk about today. I'm super excited about it because I learned this the hard way, to be very honest with you. In that, when I started teaching women how to eat to balance their blood sugar, PFC3, we eat a protein, fat, and carb every 3 hours based on hunger. It becomes intuitive eating. It's a little more nuanced than that, but that's your basic concept, right? And when you do that, you keep your blood sugar stabilized. We need carbs, we need fat, we need protein. They're meant to be eaten together. People talk about macro counting and things like that. Well, yes, those are your macronutrients, but we don't need to track for the day. We just need to understand what our PFC3 meal kind of parameters are in terms of understanding about portion size, listening to our body, and that's about as simple as it is. Now, that's not always easy, but it is that simple. Now, once you start to learn that and you start going on it, and trust me, in the thousands and thousands of people that I have been able to coach and impact in this all over the world, I have seen this over and over and over again. They get super excited. They're like, oh my gosh, I'm finally not going to have to diet again. And when we don't deal with this very topic that I'm going to talk about right today, they will not do it forever. And the cycle of self-sabotage is real, even if you are being given a sustainable solution. So the thing that keeps me up at night, this is why you will not go on our website and just see here, click and buy one of our programs, right? Come work with us, click and buy. Because a lot of us don't know what we need, right? And when we don't really truly understand what we're doing, why we're doing it, how it's going to work, investing in ourselves to really understand what it is that we're doing, then you're not going to show up. And if you don't have the right support to be able to do it, then you're going to think it didn't work when the thing I talk about today sets in. Because it will. And then you'll go look for something else. And I truly know that this is the last nutritional advice you'll ever need. There might be times where you feel like, I don't know how to work this into my regular life. That is why we are here. That is why you have support. And if you just clicked and bought some sort of a course or a program on my website and didn't have that, then you would eventually self-sabotage and think it quote unquote didn't work and convince yourself that this too is unsustainable and go look for something else, because that's the pattern that's always happened. We're going to stop with the pattern. Whether it's dieting or PFC3, this self-sabotage will happen. Now with dieting, a lot of it has to do with the fact that it's not sustainable and your body won't allow you to do it forever because you're just missing out. With PFC3, it is absolutely sustainable. Your body will start singing, but you're not used to doing something forever, so you will fall off. You also have to learn how to handle certain things that go on in terms of the chaos of our life. But if we don't deal with the cycle of self-sabotage right now and recognizing the trigger that happens when we are about to self-sabotage, when we are about to just throw ourselves off the wagon, then all the other pieces of what I call the blueprint of disruptive nutrition, meaning how we help you manage your systems at home, your time management, your thinking, all of that kind of stuff, it won't matter if you've already gone down the path of self-sabotage and didn't even realize it, because you're not going to be doing it. So I'm going to share today a visual. If you are listening to this, you're going to be able to see this visual in the show notes. So I will make sure I talk it through. So this isn't something that you feel like you don't get a ton out of because you're listening here. So we're going to do what kind of a lesson here that I teach my clients. And I think is so powerful, but one that is also like, you're going to see this and you're going to be like, oh my gosh, this is me. And then I'm going to give you some strategies of how you're going to be able to get in front of it. It's going to be super powerful. So the cycle of self-sabotage happens to all of us. And this is something that we have to recognize. We are all a victim of self-sabotaging. And it's not even just in our food. It can be in a variety of things in our life. But we're going to talk about food today because the whole concept of sustainable nutrition is not possible. Even if you are eating in the way that we teach, which I know is the last nutritional advice anybody will ever need, it is not sustainable because you will not have gotten in front of this concept that will trip you up to doing something forever, especially when you have dieted for decades. If you have dieted, obsessed about your body, or any of our food, or felt confused for decades, this will happen to you. Self-awareness is health. Self-awareness is key. And I want to get you in front of this by being self-aware. The more aware you are, the more you're going to be able to be proactive instead of reactive and wondering what the heck happened. So when we start off with the cycle of self-sabotage, we don't even realize we're in the cycle. We don't even realize we're there. But we decide to make a change. Right? You finally are like, okay, I am done. I'm tired of being sick and tired. When women come to us, it's like they've gone around the mountain so many times. The ones that actually we invite to truly work with us as a client, we know that they are ready. They are ready to make a change because they have gone through this roller coaster too many times. They are ready to truly walk down the aisle and say yes to themselves for a lifetime. Now, they will still self-sabotage, even if they are ready. It's like going into a marriage and saying, like, I'm ready to be married. This is the person I want to be married to forever, but not understanding what it takes to actually build a marriage. And then it fails, right? We have to understand that, yeah, you're ready to walk down the aisle with yourself. You decide to make that change. But if you don't understand what ends up causing the marriage between you and your body to fail, all the desire and the happiness in the world when you start will not sustain you for the long term. So we decide to make a change, and that's where we are. That's where we start off with the cycle. Yes, I am ready. I am ready to make this change. And we start to take the steps to change. Maybe you're in our Facebook group because you're like, okay, I learned about Carrie. I learned about disruptive nutrition. Somebody told me how amazing it was. I saw an ad on Facebook, whatever it was. I'm going to go join the group. I'm going to get on a phone call, whatever it is. I'm going to say, yes, I'm going to work with disruptive nutrition, whatever it is, you take the steps to change. Right? And as you do that, you start to learn information, especially when you're working with us, you will start to feel good. You will start to feel amazing, not just in your body, but in your mindset, because you're going to know, oh my gosh, this is what I've been missing. This is the education I've been looking for. This is the knowledge that I felt like I didn't have. I'm no longer confused, and your body will start to react. You will start to have more energy, sleep better, feel less bloated, clothes will feel differently, and you'll start to realize I am on this path. getting an amazing night's sleep, if that's a problem for you, there's nothing like it. Having energy that's not relying on 5 cups of coffee, that's amazing. And you start to feel good. But here's what's crazy about that. Your brain, now remember, you guys, I was a behavior specialist for more than 20 years. That is my jam. I understand how the brain works and how our behaviors are actually just a response of our thinking. But so many of the things that we do, so many of the things that we think about come from our unconscious, and we don't know it's happening. And if we don't know it's happening, we're sure as heck not going to be able to stop it. So we start to feel good. Get it? Yep. Awesome. But what you're not realizing under the surface is that good also is different. And your brain doesn't necessarily recognize that good is good or bad is bad. It just knows different, neutral, different. And when your brain starts to feel like this is different, at some point, it's going to make you feel uncomfortable. You are going to feel a way that is going to start to convince you that you can't do this. Maybe you are at a party and you are being tempted in the way that you normally are tempted, and you feel like you're feeling so great. You don't want to engage in that kind of, eating or whatever it is. You really want to make that choice, but that's not normally what you would do. And you feel uncomfortable saying no to that. Or just feeling good in and of itself is so new to you, and your brain is like, whoa, I feel uncomfortable right now. I'm not used to feeling this level of confidence. I'm not used to feeling like I have food freedom, and it feels uncomfortable. And you know what happens to our brains when we feel uncomfortable? We believe it or not. And you might think, no. If I feel really good, then this is going to be fine. Oh no, because some of the things that you're going to doing are going to be changing. So the things that you did habitually before, you're not going to be doing likely. So if you had some habits that were not serving your body, you're going to start to learn how to change those habits. And you might think you want to, but it will feel different and therefore uncomfortable, even if it feels good. And you will unconsciously, without awareness, start to question the changes that you made. You'll start to question whether or not this is really what you should be doing for the rest of your life. You'll start to question whether or not you can actually pull this off. You'll start to question things. And when we question, we start to kind of manipulate truth. We start to convince ourselves that this isn't what we want. And our subconscious starts to crave what is familiar to us. Remember when I asked you at the beginning how long you've been dieting, right? Familiarity is what our brain craves, even if it's made us miserable, even if we know it wasn't serving us. And so this new truth starts to set in. Maybe it's that I can't do this forever. Maybe it's that this is too hard. Maybe it's that I have to think about food too much. All of these things that aren't actually true become truth. And you crave the days, believe it or not, when you searched for a solution. You crave the days when you deprived yourself on a diet. Because even though it was self-harm, you did it so much that it's familiar. And because you don't even realize this is happening to you, you will start to fall into the concept of what feels comfortable. Dieting, for many of you, is comfortable. You're so used to it. You're so used to being on and off. You're used to the adrenaline rush of finding and accepting and doing a new diet, a new nutrition plan. You're craving that excitement. You're craving that search, and you will fall off because you've convinced yourselves through a truth that the changes you made were not the right ones. And so you will fall into comfort before the change is comfortable. I'm going to say that again. You will fall into comfort before the change is comfortable. And this cycle happens over and over and over again. And it has likely been happening to you for decades and you haven't realized it. And so even if you end up really truly understanding how to fuel your body with food, how to be able to incorporate blood sugar stabilization into your life, working with us or learning from us in any way that you can do is right. And it is powerful and it is effective and it's what your body wants. You will start to speak your body's love language, but it will feel different. And because you're not used to necessarily being aware of this cycle of self-sabotage, different will feel uncomfortable and you will crave the familiarity. And then that is when the cycle of self-sabotage truly starts to become aware to you, where you're like, how did I do this again? How is it that year after year, I'm just searching, that I can't stick with anything? Well, if you were dieting before, there were physical reasons why you couldn't, but you were establishing this habit. You were also raising your set point every step of the way. So as you go into what you should be doing for your body, it's going to take a little while sometimes for some of you, depending on where your set point is, depending on how long you've been dieting, how high your set point is, what your genetics is. But it's not to say that this process and this approach isn't exactly what you need. But you will self-sabotage if you don't get in front of it. And that's why this cycle, this picture is so important. Print it out, put it on your refrigerator, because right at the tipping point of starting to feel good with the change that you made. Now, this can be so many different things in life, right? So start to think about other areas of your life that you might do this in. It starts to feel good, but it feels different. And right when something starts to feel good, we can get on this slippery slope because our brain doesn't want to feel different. It wants familiarity. But if you can be aware of this and you can show up for yourself on morning time and being intentional and thinking through your day the day before, showing up and noting what you're grateful for in the mornings. If you can be intentional that you show up regardless of motivation, because you know that balancing your blood sugar is the core foundation of what your body needs, then you're going to be able to push past the resistance, push past the barriers that have held you back for so long. This cycle of self-sabotage, again, is not something that's wrong with you. It's innate within you. And all you have to do is recognize it and start to get in front of it. Self-awareness is truly the path to freedom. The more aware you are, the less self-conscious you are in comparing yourself to others. Why can't I do this? Why can't I stay beating yourself up instead of analyzing your behavior and figuring out that tipping point where you went from one place to another? Right there is where you're going to be able to self-analyze, reflect, and self-assess so that your self-awareness raises and your success for long-term increases. Now, this is a pattern that will show up in your life all the time. It shows up in my life still. With as long as I've been living this lifestyle, I know I can do this forever, but I have a very high level of self-awareness because this doesn't not happen to me. I just am getting in front of it before my unconscious takes over. And then I wake up 6 months, 12 months from now, and I'm like, wait, how did I get here again? We were missing this piece. So I want to hear what you're taking away from this, how this is resonating with you. And I need you. You need you. Your family needs you to stop the statistical kind of roller coaster that we're in, this downhill that says 3/4 of people are going to have diabetes. Diabetes will lead you right into dementia and Alzheimer's. And it's because we have no idea about how we should be serving our body in a way that will keep that from happening. And there's a lot of reasons why this is on the increase. We can get into that in another episode at some point, but understand these facts it's a math equation. If you are gaining weight, if you feel like you've been on all these different diets, if you get confused, if you crave carbs, if you don't have energy, any of those are all symptoms of a dysregulated blood sugar. I just the other day had a guy come up to me and say to me, here's the problem. I'm a sugarholic. It's just who I am. That is not your identity. That is the way that you are fueling your body. And the solution can be really simple. Again, you have to be aware of not just what your body is telling you, but how you can make sure that any changes you make stick for the long term. But your health and this whole concept has to be more than just losing weight. You're on a math equation. 2 + 2 is 4. And if you have any of those symptoms, you're going down that path that 75% of people are on. You're not the exception if you're not aware of what your body needs and then aware of what your mindsets are doing to you, what your unconscious is causing you to do when it comes to your actions. So this cycle of self-sabotage is super important. Put in the comments what you're taking away from this, why this is important to you. And if you have not booked a call with us, or even if you haven't, it's been a while, let's get you on another call. Let's get you talking through this. We want you to have questions answered, but we also want you to take hold of your health. I can't be more urgent about this for you than you are, but I'm hoping that this brings forth some level of urgency. You can undo what the years of dieting have done. You can bring your set point to a place that will allow you to actually start to see progress, but you're never going to do it by guessing, wishing, hoping, or dieting. So let's do something different so you can get something different. All right, let's get you on a call. Let's print out this picture of self-sabotage and comment what you're taking away from this. Thanks.